So my name's Keith Ballard, and I was the 2003 Milken United States National Educator of the Year. I just recently returned back from China and studying education over there in Qingdao. And I happened to read an article in the newspaper here in San Diego, California. And I know you're a foreign exchange teacher here from China. And now you have experience working in both systems and know a little bit about both. What is your name?
Mandarin Yang.
Marian Young. And you're from generally what part of China?
Northeast.
Northeast China. Okay, great. Well, welcome to the United States. I wanted to ask you just some basic questions today. What do you feel are the biggest differences in teaching kids here in the United States versus teaching kids in China? And one aspect of that might be focus. How do the kids focus in the U.S. versus in China?
Because each period in China lasts 40 minutes, so students can focus more than 20 minutes in China.
Mm-hmm.
And here, not so long, maybe only 10 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have to constantly be changed.
Yes, I need to change different tasks to make them focus more.
What do you think might cause that? Like countless number of hours watching TV or in the computer? Or do you have any idea why that is?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, I saw that same thing when I was in China. And in fact, I saw kids that could easily focus up to 40 minutes. I mean, with the centered time on task, no problems, the teacher could go start, as the kids come in and finish, and they just stay right on task. This was
Yes.
just a really strange thing, because I don't see that here in the U.S. in general. How about in discipline? How are the kids? I know that you teach Mandarin here, so you're dealing with the highest level of kids in your school. I wouldn't call these kids average. You're probably getting the cream of the crop here. But in general, how do you see discipline here in U.S. versus in China?
There's no discipline problem in China, in my school.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was in 10 other schools, and there were no discipline problems in any of those schools. I was absolutely amazed. In fact, I went to what we call socioeconomic poor schools, middle class schools, upper middle class schools. It didn't matter. There were no discipline problems. I was in schools of 2,500 to 4,000 kids. I never saw a discipline problem, and I never met a disrespectful student. Would you say that was pretty much comparative to where you come from?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Students here sometimes use restrooms too often.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And because they cannot focus for a long time, so sometimes they begin to talk.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I can tell you as an American teacher that discipline is one of the biggest problems with our system. And many great teachers, especially new teachers, actually leave the profession very early on. After 3 or 4 years, if you ask them the greatest reason why they left, it wasn't the pay, it wasn't the love of teaching, it was the discipline. They couldn't deal with the classroom management problems. And again, you don't really have that so much here in your school because you're dealing with really the best.
Yes. Yeah.
So, okay, great. And how about let's talk about student to teacher ratios. You know, how big the classes were versus here. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
In China, there are about 60 students in one class, but here about 30.
30.
Yes.
And I believe our district's something about 1 to 32. That's a pretty average ratio. And how can you teach 60 kids in a classroom, in a small classroom at one time? Can you? In China?
Yes, no problem.
No problem.
No problem.
You know, Marianne, before I went to China and I saw a lot of these videos and I read many books, I would have told you that there's just no way you could teach 60 kids effectively. But after what I saw in China, I'm going to tell you that it's no problem. I was just amazed. With discipline and respect, you can basically do anything.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, gosh, how much money could our United States government save being able to teach 60 kids per class or 50 kids per class rather than 30? You know, at one of the schools I work at, we're teaching kids at 18 or 20
Mm-hmm.
for one teacher.
Oh,
So 3 times less than in China,
yes.
because they think the kids learn better that way.